In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted Exchanges. I'm Cole.
And I'm Hayden.
Excited to be back here today, man.
Name hasn't changed.
I thought it did. I thought you were going to go by something different today.
Hey, someone actually at work kept calling me Wilson. Maybe I'm Wilson in another life.
You're like Wilson from Castaway.
I guess.
Have you seen that movie?
Is that with Tom Hanks?
Yes, Wilson. Oh my, that movie is that's such a classic. Because I feel like that would I would be that person that I'd have to make a friend with like a volleyball or something, because I would go, if I was put in solitary confinement, I think I'd lose my mind.
Well, I think that's how he saves his sanity. Right?
Yeah. But he's like, Wilson. Remember when Wilson leaves? I cried during that. Like, I'm like, that
I actually
sucks.
have not seen the film at all, but I know the premises.
You got to check it out.
Yeah.
It's
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
Cole, we got another action-packed episode. Should we just dive on in, or you kind of just want to
dude, hit
pick
me.
at some of the appetizers?
Dude, I want to dive into the full entree, dude. You know what?
You're ready to eat?
I'm ready to, dude, feed me, baby. Feed me.
I think the first topic that I want to dive into today would be Elon Musk and Tesla. He is not shy and likes to be in the news these days. I know we've talked about him ad nauseum, but he keeps us all interested in everything that's going on there. I don't know if you've seen most recently the news that, and that's the wrong article, but we'll get there.
Oh, we're just teasing you guys.
Yeah. We are working on some tech upgrades. Surprise, surprise. But here's the article that I wanted to reference. Tesla slashes its prices across all of its models in a bid to boost sales. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, right, Elon Musk is just fun to talk about. Like, he's like a maverick, or, he's kind of like one of those people that, like, anytime you hear his name, it's like you've got something juicy to talk about, right? So obviously we're gonna pick, like, he's always on the news. He's done a bunch of stuff, Twitter, yada yada yada. But I think this is pretty big because Tesla for the longest time was the premier electric vehicle. Like, they weren't inexpensive, they were very pricey, and they were that way because that was the premium electric vehicle you could get, right? And now all of a sudden, like, it's not just slashing. And I wish I knew exactly how much he slashed, but like, the reason this made the news wasn't because he dropped $2,000 off of the price. It's because he got to the point, he cut the prices so much that people are like, you've got to be shitting me. People are actually mad and upset because they're like, hey, I just bought a car 2 weeks ago. Like, what happened to this being the premium? So I think it's interesting. And I guess the question, Hayden, is like, why do you think he did that? And this article is a great article by NPR, which I like NPR because it's very kind of in the middle. Like, they're not skewed one way or the other. It's very factual a lot of the times. Don't quote me on that, because there might be some stuff that I haven't seen that I don't like. But
it's media. Anything's going to have its flaws.
But I like NPR as a good source. I use them pretty frequently when I'm referencing, especially stuff that related to business. My question to you, Hayden, is like, why do you think he did it? Not what they said he did it, but why do you think Elon Musk decided to, literally slash the prices on his vehicles?
Well, I will take kind of some of the information that I have been researching on, but if you go back to when Elon was first kind of starting Tesla up in the early 2000s, or 2008, 2010 timeframe, I think he was trying to promote that he would eventually have a vehicle or vehicles that would be very economical for the customers. Mm-hmm. And I think, over the past, give or take 5 to 7 years, the cars that he's produced are still somewhat expensive. And then he did have the Model 3 come out that became a little bit more affordable to the common person. I think that one was around 35 to 40-ish. Don't exactly quote me on that, but I think he wanted to lower prices because one, it was going to allow other customers to dip into his portfolio of products. And then two, he was definitely very strategic about this. As the article states, there were some cars that were not eligible for a tax break or a tax credit at the end of the year. You had to be within, I think, 60,000 or less or something like that. And his model, Wise and such, were definitely
More
than
expensive.
that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think that was kind of the strategic play there, which then ultimately, going back to my first point, allows more customers to be incentivized to buy his cars. So it's a supply and demand type of equation. And I think it's going to end up proving to be a smart move. Now, we'll have to see how things play out here for Musk and Tesla over the next couple of months. But I do think you'll see more people buy his cars, and they're going to be able to take advantage of that tax credit of up to $7,500.
So totally hear what you're saying, and I think there's more to it than he just did it just to do it, right? I think probably the target market that he's going for, like to be able to basically grab some more market share, because he's competing with all the big manufacturers are all starting to roll all their EVs, right? And he's got to compete with that, being the company that is newer to the block, that's only electronic vehicles. He's got to figure out a way to still stay competitive. I think there's probably some pressure on that end. I think also too, from my perspective, and it's probably noted somewhere in this article, I'd have to remember where exactly it is, but I think part of it's too is like he probably has a cost of manufacturing has gone down over time, and
Although one would think that it would be going up given today's economy,
but you've got the batteries were always the most expensive piece.
Yeah.
So the more people you've got working on batteries for electrical vehicles, probably it's probably gone down a little bit. And I think he's becoming a more established company. So, I think there's probably a little bit of that going on. I also think Elon Musk has always been a big social player, meaning like I want to do stuff to move the needle forward. Sometimes it's detriment to him financially, right? Like he's like, I bought Twitter. He bought Twitter because he wanted to change it for everybody that used it, right? He tried to back out, but he didn't. I mean, it was a losing purchase for him, and he wasn't making money by buying it. But he did that to change, right? To move it forward. So by him slashing his prices and bringing them down, I think a part of that is, moving towards, hey, having more electric vehicles out on the road. Like, hey, I'm going to get in a better price point so more people can purchase them. Because, again, more people that have the ability to purchase them, that's going to exponentially increase the adoption of electrical vehicles.
Exactly. And the White House administration has a big push for EVs over the next 5-ish years. I forget exactly how long it is. But yeah, I think the point to hit home on that you just mentioned is we want to get to a point where Americans are hitting mass adoption with electric vehicles. And this is Tesla's version of trying to do that for their particular portfolio of cars. And as you said, Tesla is relatively new to the car market, and he wants to be able to go up against the Goliaths of, the car industry. So I think this is going to be a smart move. For me personally, I am intrigued of maybe purchasing one by the end of the year.
Dude, you should, yeah.
I mean, we'll see where things end up at that point in time. It's a future Hayden problem to solve for, but yeah, I mean, if I'm interested in these cars, I think other people are going to be interested in them because of this news. I mean, 20% is not something to like, you know what, he lowered it by, a couple $1,000s. Some of these I think dropped almost $19,000.
Yeah, up to 20%.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's what slash. Yeah,
huge.
Big difference from like cutting prices a little bit. 20%. Yeah, that's massive.
Now, the one thing I did catch a little bit of, and I want to see how you would react personally, is let's say you bought a Tesla at the end of 2022 and you paid full price or retail price, whatever it is, and then come a month later, I'm saying, Cole, I'm buying a Tesla myself and I get it for 20%
Like the
less.
exact same car, everything the exact same?
Exact same.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that needs to be fact checked, but I haven't seen any evidence that Tesla is crediting back
Or giving like a
previous
rebate or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I see both sides. From a business perspective, bottom line, they sold it for whatever that price was at that point in time, and
Right.
then prices changed. It's like sales, sometimes you miss out. But as you and I were talking before the show, it is similar to a situation where retailers nowadays, more times than not, will give customers the benefit of the doubt and will credit them back on a purchase if there is a sale within, X amount
Right.
of time.
Like you left a week ago and there's a sale going on this week.
Right.
I think it's also too where I see it from both sides is like, yeah, I mean, our prices were this price at this time. We're not trying to screw you, but we changed our pricing. It wasn't. I think there's a couple things that kind of go on there too. Is if you where I think they should do it is if let's say I ordered the same car 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
And then you ordered it now. I haven't got mine yet, but you got your 20% less. Then I think 100% Tesla should be like, yeah, dude, we've dropped the prices. You haven't got yours in yet, so it's not like the car has been as lost value from driving it off the lot. I would think they should do that, but I also see it from their perspective too. Is just like it is what it is, and I think we got to remember is if you get a Tesla from what I've read and when you talk to people that we had Ben on here that has his whole family drives them and they love them, absolutely love them. Rick has a Tesla, and a lot of people that drive them love everything about the vehicle. So I might be upset, but would I decide to get rid of it or write Tesla off? Probably not. If I liked it that much, I'd probably be a little pissed for a little bit, and then the next time I got a new vehicle, I'd probably go back to Tesla and I'd trade it in and get another one.
Yeah, I mean that's why people always say you got to read the fine print when you're signing contracts too. I mean, we all get caught up with it from time to time, and I'm sure there's something that states Tesla has the right to change the prices of these vehicles. If they do change, you're not going to be getting a credit back or something like that. Again, I need to do a little bit more research, but I have not found anything that points to these previous customers getting some type of credit. Maybe not the full credit back, but even a partial credit. I haven't seen anything like that.
So here's a good question for you.
Yeah.
Because they've done this, Tesla for the longest time has been the premium EV brand, right? One of the only ones, but top tier. Do you think they're going to lose some of that brand equity by dropping prices? Do you think they're going to be looked at as hey, why, what did you do to make your cars less expensive?
I would say no, in all honesty. And the reason for that is they were one of the first adopters, or early adopters is probably a better way. And they have software that other companies don't have just yet when it comes to other big car titans. Mm-hmm. They are so far ahead of the rest of the pack. I think their brand equity still is going to be just the same or still maybe even better than some of these other well-known automakers because of their software. And I would compare it similar to Apple. And this can be debated because you have Samsung, who's another great company and a titan. But I would say Tesla has software that is top of the line. Everyone else falls below. So therefore, their brand equity is still going to be perceived to be better. Again, it's very debatable.
Well, I'm going to debate it a little bit because here's what I want to debate. So software, great. They have awesome software.
Yep.
But how are you able to make that same car and sell it to me for 20% less without hurting any of the actual functionality of the vehicle? That's what crosses my mind is I'm like, oh, they were able to cut prices by 20%. What did they do differently in the manufacturing to be able to do that? Where did they, instead of using, premium type A material, they decided to go to type B Like, where did they do
Well,
that?
I don't know. The way that I think of that is I don't know if they necessarily changed any of their assembly line and the materials on it.
But that's what I would start thinking. That's what,
Sure, that's fair.
you know what I'm saying? That's what my mind and a lot of people's mind probably goes to is like, okay, great. Well, I understand why I did it, but like, how could? And then I'd also start thinking to myself, well, were they just ripping everybody off?
Well, I don't know if I would use the word ripping everyone off, but no, you're speaking your mind. It's our show. I think here's my take, and it's an opinion myself as well. I think that their profit margins were probably higher than the average auto company. Now that needs to be fact checked as well, as I keep saying today. But I think that where they were able to reduce the price of their cars is the fact that they know long term they have software that's going to be better than any other company. And what I'll sprinkle in as a better example, there are other ways that they're probably saving or accruing reoccurring revenue, and that's through their supercharging. They used to, I believe, offer free supercharging, or you got
Like
some type
lifetime
of credit, when you purchase their vehicle. Now that's not the case when you buy one of these. So again, there's different ways you can hide money,
making it back up somewhere else.
Exactly. So that's one particular example that I have personally seen. But you bring up a good point. Like, yeah, are they switching out a material for a little bit less of a quality material? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I haven't seen anything that shows that. But again, using my example of the supercharging, it's things like that where they can start to.
Well, I was trying to poke you with
I love
the dumb consumer not dumb, but the uneducated consumer going, oh, or the person that wants to tell somebody they spent $80,000 on a vehicle, and now it's $60,000. Which is to me is great. But if I'm not knowing what Tesla actually did, and if I was just not thinking all that through and like logically, which was a great way to logically, because they're probably spreading things out from a business standpoint, I think that's a concern a lot of people are going to have.
Yeah,
that just look at the surface level and go, well, why is it so much less expensive? That's the question I would be asking. And again, I love how you laid out the reasons where they could probably make that money back, but are they explaining that to their customers too? Like, are they explaining that like nothing's changed? And I don't know, but if I was Tesla, I would get ahead of that. And Tesla, shout out Elon, you should probably get ahead of that because you dropped your prices significantly. Well, that's going to raise some red flags for people that thought they were buying the premium vehicle. It might still be premium, but you got to explain why you were able to do that.
Well, he still has a premium line of vehicles, by the way.
Well, I think they're all should be premium, though. I mean, Tesla's a premium manufacturer of cars.
I think that's debatable, and that's why he has a portfolio of cars where there are some that are seen as premium, and others maybe are. I don't know. That's a tough one. And premium is a challenging word when it comes to marketing as well.
Right. You go either way.
Yeah, I think one last thing, then we can jump onto the next topic here, is I keep going back to software, and that's because I work in the software space myself. There are ways that you can, again, accrue different revenue streams. So, and I'm not saying Tesla has done this, but maybe it's something they could do, or maybe it is a fact. I'm just thinking on the fly here. Let's say that before, when you were buying the vehicle for $60,000, I'm just making up numbers here, and now it's $40,000. What they could have done, not only the supercharger example and having people have to pay for that now, they could have also spun things differently when the $60,000 vehicle might have had a type of software come with it that you are now not getting on the $40,000.
You have to pay extra.
It's an incremental add. So again, there's different levers that you can kind of market products with, and not just cars, but like phones too.
That's a good point, because it's like by the basis, it's like, oh, you can get this, and it's 20% less. But if you want this feature,
right? If you want the self-driving mode now, it's this price.
Added on, right?
But again, I'm not saying that's what Tesla did.
Look
but
into
it gives you some other ways to think about how maybe they are positioning their products.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to look into.
Yeah, for sure. Shall we dive on into our next big topic here, which is another Titan? We're going to actually jump back to the first one that you guys might have seen a sneak preview of if you're watching the video version of this. But Google. Mm-hmm. Google employees scramble for answers after layoffs hit long tenured and recently promoted employees. Man, we've seen it in the news, not just with Google, but a lot of companies particular. Tough times for a lot of folks out there in today's economy, and you empathize for all of those that have been recently laid off. Thank you. They're trying to figure out what's next for them, but Google in particular, and then we can expand beyond that, laid off, I think, thousands of employees. It was
like 6% of their workforce.
Yeah, we can probably look at that in this article.
It's roughly 12,000 employees,
right, or 6%
of the full-time workforce. It says while employees have been, so this was what kind of stuck out to me, like the very beginning of this. I mean, you can get into more detail, but it says like some employees woke up, like didn't even know, like they weren't really told who was getting laid off, what sectors were being affected. Like they just like employees just woke up and like went to log on and their credentials didn't work.
That's tough.
I mean, think about that. Like, and that's the thing is like, which I understand, like the CEO Sundar, like he's obviously the CEO of one of the largest, most innovative companies in the world, especially in the tech realm. I mean, especially with technology and everything that Alphabet and has their hands in, which is the parent company of Google, that's a lot, right? That's a lot. But it's just like, you got to remember to be kind of empathetic, and I don't know if I love the way they handled that because think about if you woke up tomorrow and you did log on and you just couldn't log into Kroger and nobody told you anything, but you just got an email to your personal email that said thank you for working here.
Yeah, I like how you brought up how this might not be empathetic in lots of companies, but playing devil's advocate here. Similar to how we were going back and forth
let's hear
Tesla. Yeah. What would be the right way to do this in your mind? Because it's never easy letting people go. Whatever the reason is, what is the right way? And let's use this at scale of 6% of a company this large. When it is one person, obviously you can have HR involved and you bring someone in, and there is a more empathetic way of going through, hey, you are no longer going to be working for our company, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Obviously, again, you have HR involved. And I'm actually speaking from, I've been in a situation like that previous. Mm-hmm. So I kind of know what that's like. And it was actually not, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Was it nice?
Well, no. It wasn't. I didn't feel there were some empathetic people in the room with me, and the way that they laid it out all made sense. And I kind of knew going into the meeting, I knew what it was going to be. Right. And that's a good sign when you have a transparent culture company. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe I slightly disagree with that in terms of that company, but anyhow, the way that they kind of brought me in and went through
and handled it.
Yes, thank you. The way that they handled the process, I had nothing to gripe about. But in a situation like this, yeah, if I were to log on and I can no longer access my materials because, hey, you've been let go, yeah, that seems like, yeah, you were just a number in our system. We don't really care about you. But again, as I just was pointing to, how do you properly handle that when you have, let's say, 12,000 people that you have to let go?
I would say it's a cop-out to say that it's you can't do that. It's bullshit for big companies that say, oh, we couldn't figure out the best way to communicate it. It's just called lack of communication and point blank. Like if they knew, employees knew they're going to be layoffs. Like they had spread the word. They had said, hey, it's spanning the globe right now, and especially with high tech companies like software companies and stuff, especially on the West Coast, and they're all laying people off. It's not a oh, you know, all of a sudden. I mean, this has been going on for a couple months now, and it's just getting worse. But I think it starts with communication, and even if it's I think the biggest thing, if you read through this article, and a lot of this stuff is hearsay and third party information, was that they knew layoffs were coming, but nobody had been made aware of like what sectors, what's whether they were senior levels, mid level, low level. Was it engineering for this product? Was it? They were just kind of left in the dark, and I think the best way for me personally that I think they could have handled it at Google is they could have said, "Hey, here's here's an overview of where our financial sector." Now, Google is a publicly traded company, so you can kind of read some of that online. But hey, here's some information about where we're at right now and where we're whether we're losing money or this is going on. Here's the path we're going at. Here's some information so you're aware. Now, is it totally possible for them at a company that size to go to every single person and say, "Hey, Joe, you're losing your job"? No, but could they have made the effort, knowing what's going on, to educate their employees enough to say, "Hey, layoffs are coming, and here's where we think they're going to happen, or here's a pot." I don't know. I mean, that's the way I would think. Again, I'm probably oversimplifying it too, because on one hand, you want to communicate. On the other hand, you don't want your employees running off, especially if they're ones that you weren't going to let go, right? Like if you over communicate this stuff and you have people start fleeing for the hills, and it's like they were the employees you wanted to keep. I don't know, but I still think it could have been done differently.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a very tough situation, no matter what company you are. But what you are trying to emphasize is there's probably more so a right way to do this, no matter how large the layoff might be. But yet again, maybe because we're just here observing this, maybe there was some prior communication to the company saying, "Hey, given our financial circumstances or the state of the economy because of yada yada yada, we are looking to make some cuts to our workforce. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, there could be jobs that will be eliminated overnight." In preparation, we are going to be sending every single, I was about to use the word customer, every single employee helpful resources to navigate this if you are chosen, for whatever reason, to no longer be part of the Google company or Alphabet, whatever the hell they call themselves these days.
Yeah.
Again, people would pick that apart saying that's not the right thing to do either. But again, how far do you go? And I'll take us down a little bit of a different route here too. Now, I'm saying if I'm the employee, like, why do I have to then give a 2 weeks notice if I could get fired at any point in time too, right? Now, I'm again taking us down a little bit of a different road here, but if you want to use the same logic, let's say that Google and these other companies are just terminating or eliminating
like that
overnight, then a person can get up and leave overnight and there should be no consequences either, right?
That's the catch.
Yeah.
It's the catch. And it's, obviously the opinions we're sharing, and I'm empathizing because
no, you're doing a great job.
I'm empathizing because I'm sitting there going, if I had to wake up in the morning and before I took my daughter to school, I can't get it, and I'm logging in just to check my email, and I can't get on my email.
I probably called my boss and be like, "Hey, I'm an idiot. I must have locked myself out."
Yeah, and they say like, "No, like you're no longer with the company." I mean, you know how detrimental that is. Like, and so on that side, but it's not something you can avoid either. So like, there's the part of me that's empathetic, and it's the part of me that's like, also business is business. You can't avoid ebbs and flows. You can do your best to hedge against them, but you can't avoid if you got to lay people off. Cut off the arm to save the body, so to speak. It sounds really bad, but you got to make decisions. I think you could go down a whole wormhole, Hayden, of was it to keep because a lot of people would say, oh, well, all the executives are still getting paid, their salaries. They're actually all still getting there. But a lot of people would say that. And it's just like, yeah, like there's so many different routes you go with that. But at the end of the day, I think laying people off in general, having to fire, whether you have 1 employee, 5 employees, or 50,000 employees, you want to handle it delicately as much as you can. And I think you got a good point there of like, yeah, employees are expected to give 2 weeks notice. So companies aren't expected to give 2 weeks notice too.
But again, as we've kind of been speculating or like we're not
we don't
know all the details. Yeah, so maybe they did kind of give some type of heads up.
Mm-hmm.
But here's another little take related to all this. You can respond in a certain manner, which determines more or less it's who you are, your character. Where I'm going with this is, let's say that I did wake up and I was let go from, I'll use Google here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you would be feeling all sorts of different emotions in the moment, but you can be the quote unquote bigger person and be like, you know what? These were the cards I was dealt. And you start picking your boots up and you get back to, all right, I got to figure out where my next job is going to be, instead of, sulking and just like, why me? I mean, you can still have those thoughts, but don't let them creep into, weeks or months. And you're like kind of sitting on the couch. Again, I'm going into, all right, shoot, I just got let go of Google. I'm a smart person. And let's say it's not even just Google, anywhere. You have to have that mindset, as we've talked about on plenty of our podcasts, of, you know what, this isn't the situation that I was expecting, but how am I going to respond? That's how you determine who you are as a person. And you can be like, you know what, screw Google, I hate the world, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, but that's probably not going to benefit you.
Or
you could be
anywhere,
like,
right.
You know what, I'm a very talented individual. I work for one of the best companies in the world, Google. Did I like how they let me go? No. But you know what? I'm going to be all right, and I can figure out my next role pretty darn quickly, and I'm going to start looking now. You don't wait. And I've seen people on LinkedIn from not Google in particular, but just other companies that have had layoffs where they're like, you know what? I'm feeling all these different emotions, but most importantly, I'm thankful and I'm already willing to look for my next job because I know that I've got talent that I can add wherever it might be. And I think that's the right way that you kind of chalk this all up and you move on. You keep moving.
Well, you can't dwell on it. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, it's not going to do anybody any good to sit around and say, poor me, woe is me. I mean, you can feel that way for a minute, get in your feelings, feel the way you got to feel.
Yep.
We all have to do that and then move forward. I love that message, Hayden. I also think too, it's interesting to think about when stuff like this happens, how many entrepreneurs come out of this?
Great question.
I mean, think about that too. Like this is the part of this is actually, and it's like, it's looking at it glass half full. Stuff like this is what also helps the economy in a weird, it sounds really like it's a weird way of looking at it, but you've got 12,000 employees that worked for one of the most high-tech companies in the world. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these employees are top-notch. I mean, to get a job at a company like that, I mean, you're top-level talent.
Yep.
So how much talent's now out there willing to put their talent towards other things?
Exactly.
I mean, that's, and so like from that point of view, glass half full is now you've got 12-ish thousand ex-Google employees that are hungry, that are ready to get after it, that can now take their experiences and make the world a better place with whatever avenue they want to go. And probably, knowing Google, they probably cut them some pretty nice severance checks. So, not on top of like motivation, having some time, you've also maybe got a couple $100,000 check to start your own business.
Yeah, it's like taking a snow globe, shaking it up, and then, instead of it being snow, it's all these top talented individuals, and they're going wherever. I mean,
so from looking at that point of view, it's kind of like, okay, let's keep track of the innovations that come out of the people that left Google. I mean, a lot of companies are doing it, but I think that's also like kind of neat if you look at it that way to like see there's a silver lining and a lot of great stuff can come out of it.
For sure. I think this will be a trend to keep watch on, Cole, from the rest of the year forward. But yeah, we wish the best to anyone that has been recently laid off. Definitely challenging times. To your first point, it is good to be empathetic to individuals, and there's a right way to do that no matter how large your organization is, how many people you are laying off. And then on the flip side, as we are kind of wrapping up things with this particular topic, you need to make sure that you have a positive outlook or a positive mindset. And we are not discounting. You're going to still have, those temporary emotions of I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, but you have to try to quickly move on to, all right, what's next for me?
You know what's interesting? Just a side note, and I totally agree with everything you said. Just my brain's going. How tight do you think the job market's going to be with these layoffs from these top tech companies?
Elaborate on that for me.
So what I'm saying is, like, you've got these big technology companies that are, and tight, I actually meant competitive. So you got these companies that are like Google, Facebook, all these companies that are top level, top tier talent laying off.
Yeah.
So the companies that are trying, so like now you've got all these, and some of them will become entrepreneurs and stuff like that. But like you got 12,000 Google employees laid off. Like they're all going to get a foot in the door for any company just because they have Google in their resume. You know how much harder though it is going to be able to get into the jobs? Like I think like that's going to be interesting too, to see how competitive the job landscape gets, because all these top level talent are going out and fighting for jobs. It's going to be interesting.
No, you're right. And I actually know someone that's going through this situation right now, and I'd love to have them on the show. And we're going to see if we can get them on sooner rather than later. But yeah, that's another great point. It's going to be very, very tough.
Yeah, dude. This is fun stuff to talk about. I mean, it's be jacked up.
Yeah. All right, let's jump to our third and last topic for today.
Oh, hit me.
I know this is your favorite platform. No sarcasm whatsoever.
I like some IG, baby.
I went through a period of time where I wasn't the biggest fan. Not to say that I'm a big fan today, but anyhow, Instagram. They are making a change to their home navigation page. Mm-hmm. And essentially they're removing the shop tab, as you can see from this article here. So Instagram is removing the shop tab, moving Reels from the center spotlight, and design overhaul next month. So for anyone that engages and uses Instagram, if you go to the homepage,
like, follow, share our page.
Yes, thank you. Love that plug. That's why Cole is 10 times smarter than I am. There is like a shop icon, and I'm looking at my phone at the same time, and it's like, what the heck? Why even have that? Which I'm totally on board with this move, because the amount of stuff that is promoted on Instagram is ridiculous. Now, I guess that it was probably a revenue stream for them to make additional money, because they probably get a cut. Not probably. I know they get a cut of everything that's sold on their platform, no matter who you are and what you're pushing out there. But is Instagram really supposed to be a e-commerce platform, or is it more of a social networking where their core offering used to be photos and then it gravitated into video content?
I just feel like there's a bigger play here than them just trying to take care of everybody. I mean, I think that from a business standpoint, they probably have a very specific reason why they're doing this, and I don't think it's because they're listening to their users. I mean, do you have more information on specifically why they're saying they're doing it? Let's look. Would make it easier for users to access Instagram's expanded suite of.
I would slightly disagree with a couple of your comments there in terms of Instagram isn't listening to its users.
I don't know.
This is why we have these conversations. It's just an open debate and conversation in a healthy manner. I do think a lot of companies, smart companies, do listen to their customers. That's kind of the take that I wanted to slide in. Now, this Instagram example in particular, yeah, we don't know all the facts. Cole and I are trying to go through and see if there's anything that in particular stands out in terms of why they're making this move. But maybe it was a lot of customer sentiment of, hey, all I see on Instagram is ads, way too many ads. I don't come to use your product to go look and buy a new pair of shoes or whatever the heck it might be. If you recall, Jimmy's kicking things
we
these
good?
days.
Oh, we're
I
good.
think we're all right. If you recall, there are options whenever you see an ad to click. I think it's 3 dots, and you can say, stop showing me this, and it gives you a reason. So there could be data points that Instagram had where they got so much feedback
People saying that.
of this, and then they're like, you know what, maybe we need to kind of shift. And like anything, it is a pendulum. It swings back and forth. I bet you X amount of time we will see this same feature, whatever you want to call it, somewhere else on their app. It's not going away.
Just in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like in particular that this is no longer going to be found front and center on the app. Like, why? Instagram isn't a place to go and buy products.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it
made it feel like an e-commerce site.
Yep.
When it was never intended to. Like, it's like, oh, I can shop on here, which is like kind of like, okay, that just doesn't mesh with like the identity of Instagram like at all. And I think you're spot. Like, yeah, when you looked in and you see the shopping icon, it just didn't really ever make sense. Like, and I think too, to the point. I mean, it is super annoying. Like, you almost stop. It's caused me a lot of the time subconsciously to get away from because I'm just like, I don't need another ad. Like, I don't need to buy anything. Like, I'm not on here to make any purchases. Maybe some people are, but I'm not. I'm tired of getting fed this stuff.
None of us do, right? We see way too much of it these days. Everyone's trying to market and sell something, you and I included.
Dude.
You know, that's why we want you to head to unscriptedexchanges.com.
Buy some merch, baby.
Yes, please. All right, Cole. I think that's enough for today. I love today's conversation, by the way. We jumped into 3 pretty large companies. Don't know if you have anything else that you would like to share before we call it a day.
No, I think this was a super exciting conversation. Stay tuned. We're going to keep doing different iterations of reactions, sharing some information that's out there, touching some topics that you guys might like, might love, maybe disagree with. That's just going to be part of what we do. And just, check us out on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're trying to engage with you guys in multiple different ways to make your lives better, give you some information you can listen to, and make it super simple to listen to us on the jog or whatever you're doing.
We're everywhere. We're coming to a digital platform near you, or maybe in a physical location near you. Maybe something's coming.
Stay tuned.
Thanks, y'all. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.